Well, howdy, folks. K-Dog here. I'm gonna move my microphone just a little bit. Well, I've accumulated a lot of stuff. Got some Blu-rays. Got a lot of Blu-rays this within the past 2 weeks. And there's one DVD I'd like to talk about. And actually, most of these Blu-rays I got just today. And I'm gonna pull through, and you're gonna see what I got. So let's roll the intro. Well, welcome on back. Hope you enjoy your stay. Take a look at my channel and see if there's anything you like, and because there's plenty of content to go around, including a movie of the week. Speaking of which, we're going to kick things off with the movie of the week from last week. It is The Amazing Spider-Man on Blu-ray. Yes, I finally picked this up. I was a little skeptical at first. I never did see it in theater. Mainly because I hated Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man. I do have the first Tobey Maguire movie. That's about as far as I went. I never went into the sequels. But yeah, here's The Amazing Spider-Man, starring Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker. And this, of course, is the total reboot of Spider-Man. And I must say, it's a much better job. Do check out my show, Movie of the Week. You'll see my full review of what I thought on The Amazing Spider-Man Blu-ray. Next up, I am kind of humbled by this because when this came out, I was kind of dissing it. I was trashing it. I was bad-mouthing it because like a lot of people, I am sick and freaking tired of seeing sequels. This came out in 2011, and I actually went to AMC Theaters' YouTube channel, and I posted, because their senior editor on there, John Campia, I want to go ahead and give him credit, but he posted a video on there saying that for everyone to do check out X-Men First Class. And I badmouthed it. I immediately posted in the comments section that I said, this is going to be bad. This is going to be bad. And I said, because, look, I basically went on a rant and saying, why is Hollywood going to stop making these movies? It's X-Men First Class. And I just went on a rant about, I'm tired of seeing, things being strung out, and that's why people lose interest in stuff, because they make so many of these movies. However, after officially viewing X-Men First Class, I do think they did a very good job with this movie. Because I was so disappointed in X3. That was part of the contribution to my rant. I hated X3. And X-Men Origins was okay. It was not great by any means. The less said, the better. And I posted in my comment also. I said this is going to be bad. I said the series was in a downfall with X3: The Last Stand. But then AMC Theaters, I don't know if it was Campia, but the AMC posted back to me and said, well, this is much better than X3: The Last Stand or X-Men Origins Wolverine, because Bryan Singer was involved. So that just sparked more fuel on the fire. Just because a director is attached to something, that doesn't mean it's going to be good necessarily. Bryan Singer is involved with this. Matter of fact, he is directing the next movie. This one was directed by Matthew Vaughn, a.k.a. Kick-Ass, and I'm trying to think what else he's done. But yeah, and this is much better than what I thought it was going to be. So I do take back my comments on X-Men First Class. I was going on a rant about Hollywood in general because we're so hung up on these franchises because they've got to make gazillion dollars. And I pointed out to somebody else because I posted another comment after that saying, look at the trends. Look, Pirates of the Caribbean 4 stinks. I just went on a whole bunch. Pirates of the Caribbean, Star Wars, they started to stink after that fourth movie. And enough said about that. I went on too long already. Next up is The Last Starfighter. Not that great of a transfer, but, it's The Last Starfighter on Blu-ray. This is a movie that was kind of groundbreaking at the time because we had the movie Tron that came out in 1982. Well, this was in 1984, and there was another company that stepped up, mainly Lorimar, and said we wanted to do a space adventure fantasy that kind of have an E.T. like vibe, but we want the effects of Tron because it was groundbreaking and it was computer generated and so on and so forth. But yeah, it's a $7.88 Walmart purchase, and it's well worth it. It is high definition, even though the transfer could be a little bit better. Next up, also in the $7.88 bin, and I got it just because I'm a fan of the original characters, and I finally took the plunge and saw it. Is it great? No. Alvin and the Chipmunks, the original. They do reference. What I do think is creative about this movie is because I grew up with the Chipmunks in the 80s. This is what this movie was supposed to be made for, is people my generation, not necessarily new kids. It was meant for my generation. And this movie, what it really tried to do was tell the true story of Ross Bagdasarian in real life. And there's actually a bonus feature where the son, who actually did the Chipmunks in the 80s, he does a feature on here where he talks about, so you can see it. He does a feature on here where he talks about how his dad started the Chipmunks and how he spent the family's last $200 on a tape recorder that could do multiple speeds, and that's how he came up with the Chipmunks. It's loosely based on it, even though there's no real chipmunks. Well, there's one real chipmunk, but you gotta see the story to understand it. Next up, picked up The Book of Eli. Never seen it. Denzel Washington and Gary Oldman. I still have yet to watch it. Be willing to check this out. All I remember about that movie is it came out around the same time as The Road, and I really liked The Road. Next up, I have the remake, do not have the original, Clash of the Titans, starring Harry Hamlin. And it was the last feature to have special effects by Ray Harryhausen. This was originally a 1980 1981, excuse me, release was kind of. It's funny that we brag about how bad Clash of the Titans remake is bad today. Back then, this movie got bad reviews. It was, critics hated it. Speaking of bad movies, Sucker Punch. I have yet to see it. It's probably bad. I've heard nothing but awful things about this. And this, of course, is the 2-disc edition where it has the PG-13 cut and the R-rated cut in it. But hey, I like Zack Snyder. And I loved what he did with Man of Steel. And I love 300. Speaking of which, I also picked up Watchmen, the director's cut. I have the Watchmen DVD. I'm going to keep that because that one is the theatrical cut. This one is the director's cut, the 3-hour and 6-minute director's cut. And it's got a lot more content on it. As a matter of fact, the DVD didn't have any content on it. Maybe the trailer, if that. Next up is a DVD, and I guess you can say this movie was remade a couple years ago, loosely remade because there was very, very strong similarities between this film I'm about to show and a film called Real Steel. That would be Over the Top, starring Sylvester Stallone. I would have gotten the Blu-ray to this. This is out on Blu-ray, but Walmart doesn't have it. They have it for $5 on DVD, so... And think of it, it's not that great of a movie. But yeah, I'm going to post this as my movie of the week, so do stay tuned for that, because I have been watching this more than any of these titles. Next up, I got a bunch of stuff from Disney today, and let's just say I got some bargains today. Most of this, right here, from this section on is what I got today. I've watched a few of them. Actually, I got this one last night, and I watched it today, and it's Wreck-It Ralph. Yeah, the computer animated Disney feature where actually Disney came close to being Pixar. And good story. I think it's I'm trying to say is with Wreck-It Ralph, it's it brought back a lot of memories of playing video games when I was younger, because it referenced a lot of those games, and it was, matter of fact, the games are set in that world, the old 8-bit, 16-bit arcade games and things like that. They like honestly, right here on the cover, there's Sonic the Hedgehog, and what was the King Koopa's in here too. But yeah, it references a lot of these old characters and the ghost from Pac-Man, and it's like Toy Story for video games, I guess what you can say. Next up, I just finished watching this one, and it's Animal House, in the best of the decade thing that Universal has been putting out. They did this with the Blues Brothers as well for the best 1980s. If you go to Best Buy, they have these slip covers, and of course it's just the regular Blu-ray. They just put it in this nifty little slip case, similar to what they did the 100th anniversary that they did for Universal. And it gives you a list of pop culture, or what was the famous movies during the decade, the TV shows, news, and what was on the radio at the time. Next up, Gone with the Wind. Picked this up for $9.99 at Best Buy. Thought it was a decent deal, even though the only thing on here is a commentary, which I'm really looking forward to listening to, actually, because there's a little bit of history with Gone with the Wind. And you know what's interesting? What they took, if you go to boxofficemojo.com, there's a little feature on there where you can look at the top grossing movies of all time. And there's a little section where you can click on it and say adjust for inflation. Guess what's the highest grossing movie of all time adjusted by inflation? Gone with the Wind, folks. This one is truly the highest grossing movie of all time. That is if you just what prices are today and the number of people that saw it. This would be the highest grossing movie. It beats Avatar by a landslide. Actually, it was a significant number. I cannot name off the top what the adjusted gross was. I'll probably put that in the screen here. So in a caption. So yeah, just look out for that. Next up, Disney Pixar flick, Ratatouille. Have yet to watch this one, actually. I've heard nothing but good things. It's directed by Brad Bird, as well as, and this is one I've been really waiting on to get, The Incredibles. Probably one of the greatest Pixar movies ever made, which they need to make a sequel to this one. Instead of your Pixar, you're beating around the bush, and you're releasing everything else but this. You'll do Cars before you do The Incredibles? Come on, what's the matter with you? Get on the ball. Now the next two are Sony Pictures releases. Of course, these are $9.99, and with the trade and save or upgrade and save, they were $5 a piece. Actually, so I got Step Brothers, which has the rated and the unrated cut. Did think this was funny. I have seen the movie. The problem is with these movies, this has to be one of the most immature movies ever made. And next up, I got Ryan Gosling in Drive. I actually did kind of like this movie. Nice little indie movie. Let's see who else is in it. It's also got Bryan Cranston, Ron Perlman, and Albert Brooks. And I thought this was a really good movie. It's not for everybody. Some people liked it, some people didn't like it. But a lot of the people that I know on YouTube, they've actually recommended it, and they really enjoy it. Now, the next one I had never seen, and I've been watching clips of it online. And this one's kind of like Drive. It's not for everybody. It's a well-made movie. It's become kind of a cult favorite, I guess, a cultural favorite. And it's American Psycho. This is actually a movie that relaunched Christian Bale as an actor, because he went away. He was on kind of hiatus for a while, and they found him and brought him back. And yeah, because this was before Batman. This was like in 2000. And it's an indie movie. It's kind of twisted in some parts. Matter of fact, the ending kind of went over my head a little bit because I'm trying to figure out what in the world's going on. It just proves that this guy, Patrick Bateman, is a psycho. But it's really more about the 80s and the club scenes and the club scene, the drug scene, and the sex scene that was all going on in the 80s, and briefly touching on the AIDS epidemic and how that kind of started. Matter of fact, you see characters in this film that you can see how that virus had spread. But that's about all they talk about. It's no more than that, and it's more about this guy who's a psychopath killing people just because he needs to. But yeah, it's an okay movie. It's not for everybody. It's pretty gruesome and it's pretty twisted, but you know, once in a while you get movies like that, and again, it's not for everybody. It's, you know, if you want to check it out, because I've been watching some clips on YouTube. I had actually found a Funny or Die skit. I had actually seen it first, where they had Huey Lewis and Weird Al Yankovic. And if you know anything about the movie, that there is a clip where Patrick Bateman, right before he kills a guy, I'm not going to say who it is, he pulls out a CD. He says, "You like Huey Lewis in the news?" And he goes on and talks about how Sports was a great album, and how 4 is one of the best albums ever made in his mind, and why people don't take the song "Hip to Be Square" as strongly as they do. But there was a scene where they actually had Huey Lewis and Weird Al, where basically Huey Lewis is in the Patrick Bateman position and Al is in the other guy's position. And yeah, it's a funny clip, and look that up on YouTube. It's funny. But yeah, that's the haul for this time around. Yeah, I'll probably do one in another couple of weeks. It may be up to 2 weeks now, because I have gotten so much over the past 2 months. My stack has just gone crazy. I now have a total of 200 Blu-rays in my collection. So, from me to you, see you later. Stay tuned for that over-the-top review.